Hi, I'm Sophie Scott, and I was the director of Good Kids with this year's teen performance company at Roundhouse Theatre. So the Teen Performance Company is a company of exclusively teenagers that puts together a show in the period of a year. The designers, the actors, the directors, the house manager, absolutely every aspect of theater is run by students.
If you could describe Tech Week in 3 words, what would they be?
Long, tiring, and fun.
Long, exhausting, and exhilarating.
Stressful, exciting, and fun. I don't know, that's like kind of a lame word, but that is what I would use to describe it.
Tech Week is the first time that all of the different elements that go into the show can come together. So for months before Tech Week, the designers and I have been sitting at a table talking about what might look good on the stage and what concepts we want to make sure play out. And for a month or two, the actors and I have been in a room trying to figure out what the blocking is going to be for the show. This is the first time that we get to see it on the actual Roundhouse stage, and that the designers get to project the visions we've had in the room onto the stage and onto the actors. So it's a really cool experience.
I think Tech Week is really fun because we all get to be together, and like a lot of earlier points in the process, like cast is doing rehearsal stuff, crew is doing their own stuff, and so this is when we all get to come together and actually put the show together. And one thing that happened yesterday night, it was like 10, I was really tired, and I went down to the green room to turn the TV off, and I looked, and in the box of donuts there was like one donut, and it was like for crew specifically, and it just made me feel really good. And so that's one thing that I love, is being with the people who are a part of the program more.
In the Teen Performance Company, we kind of get to act like professionals in the sense that we rehearse in a separate space, and then we come into the theater only like about a week and a half before the show actually opens. And so Tech Week is a really beautiful thing because you get to mount it on the stage and you get to see it kind of come together. It feels like it all just kind of falls together at the last minute because you don't really know whether or not it's going to work, if it's going to happen, and then kind of magically, it's almost magically, it seems to happen, but at the same time you know it's because of the amount of work you've put into it.
Obviously the actual rehearsal process and the show itself is incredibly memorable, but because Tech Weeks are so long, a lot of the time 6-hour to 12-hour days, we've definitely had one 12-hour day this year, you end up having a lot of cast and crew bonding moments. And one of the most memorable to me, one of the ones that sticks out, and I know I will never ever forget it, is when our sound designer was playing around with sound, and he used a speaker that was under the stage in the orchestra pit, and it was really, really loud bass music for the party scene that we have later in the show. And somebody was laying on the stage to pretend to be one of the actors because they weren't there yet. And they felt that the bass music was it was vibrating on their backs. It was kind of cool. It felt like a party while they were lying down. So after dinner, when the actors were already there, we had the sound designer play the bass music as loud as he possibly could from under the stage again. And we all lay down on our backs, listened to the music, and danced with just our arms. We looked crazy. We looked like a scene out of Hair the Musical, as so many of the adults in the room commented. And it was just kind of magical. It was silly, but we all just had such a good time together.
The worst part is the fact that I still have to go to school every day. And the fact that, you get home at like 10:30 and then you have homework and it's like, okay. So it's exhausting. That's the worst part, but yeah, I think the good outweighs the bad.
And the best memory was when a lot of us weren't in a scene and it was only a couple of people and we would sit backstage and talk to each other. That was always really fun. And the worst moment of Tech Week was standing still for like 15 minutes straight, doing absolutely nothing.
Sometimes in Tech Week there are moments that happen that you don't necessarily expect, that you know immediately, oh my God, I am never gonna forget this. This is gonna stick with me as a part of this experience for the rest of my life. Every time I look back on this show, this memory will stick out, and Tech Week is full of those.
Hello and welcome to How to Sound Smart. I'm your host, Stella Green, and I'm going to teach you a magic trick I call comparison. If used correctly, this trick can see you labeled funny, pretty, tall, or smart by comparison. Also, unlike real magic tricks, this one can actually improve the social standing of the performer. Heck, if you learn how to properly utilize the art of the favorable comparison, even if you do normal magic tricks, you can wind up looking like a good time by comparison. Just find someone worse than you at whatever you'd like to look good at and stick to them like they're a glue trap. But oh no, here you are at a party full of hilarious, gorgeous, vertically privileged geniuses. What do? You take them all down. Which leads us to today's lesson, contradict others. Don't waste time trying to build up your reputation as an intelligent person through honest effort. Just make sure no one else has the opportunity to build up theirs. For our topic today, we'll be covering the go-to example of oxymoron, America's favorite paradox, the gold standard of contradictions, ladies and gentlemen, the living dead. That's right, zombies. Today, we're going to talk about Haitian zombification. Our story, like many great ones before it, begins with a man from central Haiti paying a visit to his sister. This man had recently made a name for himself by doing something that you and I are both doing right now, being alive. This becomes an accomplishment when we consider that he had just spent the last 20 or so years being the opposite of that. His name was Clairvius Narcisse, and one day in 1980 he stopped by home looking to catch up with his sister. She was surprised to say the least, but this man looked like him, walked like him, talked like him, and as a bonus had a rugged new scar on his cheek that he got from a loose nail, as it was hammered into his coffin. Time to dispense with the suspense, let's dig up some explanations. The zombie legend actually originates from Haitian voodoo folklore. Voodooists believe that a person can either die naturally or unnaturally, the former being a death from old age or disease, and the latter, murder. Bad news for our brand new corpse, his check-in time isn't for another few decades, and there's going to be a wait. Should an individual happen to die unnaturally, they'll find their souls unable to detach from their grave sites until the gods can finish straightening up their eternal resting place. If, during this period of afterlife buffering, a sorcerer, called a Bokor, should happen by, they can take the person's soul, currently just sort of hanging around by a grave, and use it to control their bodies. They will often use them for assistance or sell them into slave labor, because the zombie workers' rights movement is still a long time coming. Anyone familiar with the idea of conflicting interest sees the problem here. In this mystic version of vertical integration, Bokors are unfortunately incentivized to manufacture their own unnatural deaths. And it seems like Clairvius falls under this category. On April 30th, 1962, Clairvius went to the hospital, running both the gambit of near-death symptoms and a fever. Just days after checking in, he died. Then it was 24 hours in the hospital's freezers, which luckily failed to freeze him to real death. How do we know all this, you ask? Because Clairvius was conscious the whole entire time, which thoroughly sucks. Shortly after the deep freeze, our intrepid corpse was buried. Clairvius said that throughout the whole affair, he had the sensation of floating over himself like a disembodied spirit. Now imagine the shock of that disembodied spirit when he got an aerial eyeful of a sorcerer digging him up. After Clairvius's preposterous unearthing, he was raised and taken to a rebirth ceremony. Once his backwards baptism was completed, Clairvius went to a sugar plantation in northern Haiti. Here he and his zombie co-workers toiled until their master died and they were able to escape. Now, I don't want to assume anything, because you know what that makes out of you and me, but what the heck. I'll go ahead and assume that you want to know what goes into creating a zombie. That was the question anthropologist / ethnobotanist / real-life adventure hero Wade Davis set out to answer in 1982. A student at the time, Davis heard about Clairvius's case, and interest peaked as high as it could go. He headed on down to Haiti to do his thing. After arriving in Haiti, he quickly made contact with a man named Marcel Pierre. Pierre was a voodoo sorcerer who moonlighted as the owner of a charming little bordello down in St. Marc. Davis said, being not at all sketchy, that he would pay for help if there were no questions. Pierre, a pimp/sorcerer, had no problem with sketchiness and was game. After that, Davis and Pierre passed a day Sunday shopping for zombie powder fixins. Davis theorized that this powder was a poison a la Romeo and Juliet that could simulate death, but also made with a knock-your-socks-off hallucinogenic punch that would have left the star-crossed lovers seeing same. Among the ingredients collected, there were human bones freshly ground by Pierre in his mortar and pestle, but there wasn't an active ingredient. Pierre was holding out. Next try, Davis manages to persuade Pierre to give him the real recipe, and this time he believes it. All zombie powders differ a bit, but Pierre's own special blend includes sea worms, lizards, tarantulas, a New World toad, human bones, and pufferfish venom. Our finished product, all polished and packaged, looks like black dirt as applied topically. Side effects may include nausea, a spreading pins and needles sensation, lower extremities, skin lesions, and entrance into an unholy state of living death. The poison isn't actually fatal, but within 6 hours it lowers the victim's metabolism so much they appear dead. Our active ingredient is tetrodotoxin, which comes from pufferfish venom. Anyone who's ever gone out for sushi and had one fugu too many has probably experienced symptoms identical to those of victims of zombification. Once you've primed and powdered your zombie-to-be, it's time to add the mind-melting drugs. Zombies have fed a plant called the zombie's cucumber, which is a terrifying hallucinogen so powerful it'll have them seeing Lucy in the sky with demons. So there you have it. Although the living dead don't exist per se, zombies technically do, and they're made by grave-desecrating, drug-peddling, slave-dealing necromancers. This is a theme that has cropped up time and again here on How to Sound Smart. Stay away from sorcerers. That concludes this episode of How to Sound Smart. Remember today's lesson: contradict others, because you'll never look better than by comparison. See you next time.
Nowruz is an Iranian New Year celebration. It coincides with the first day of spring, and it's a very important day for Iranian people and Persian people, and a lot of other people across the Middle East that celebrate it. It's probably the single most significant holiday as it kind of dawns the start of the new year.
Like the bridge making event, like it's for everybody, and it's something that everyone can take part of, and very multicultural. I know it's celebrated in Tajikistan, Afghanistan, like other Middle Eastern countries. It's a really joyous event. I know that this is our like main holiday, whereas in the U.S., you know, we have like smaller holidays that kind of get people excited, but like this is our one. Every New Year's we set up a half scene, which is 7 S's, and there's a Persian letter called scene. And every one of these 7 things starts with that letter.
Basically to symbolize they're the things that you want to achieve over the years.
For example, when we put apple, which starts with sin at the beginning, siv, it is the symbol of love and the symbol of reproductivity. When we put laun, which is sabze in Iran, start again with sin, that is the symbol of life.
Well, in Afghanistan, we have a dance called Atan Milli, national dance, which we also would dance with traditional clothing, and it represents the nation's unity. So it is partly from all around the country.
The moment the New Year is started, everybody shake hand and kissing each other's cheek. Old members of the family give some money as a, let's say, we call it AD to the other members of the family. It is not just the matter of money. It teaches them to be generous, because when they become older, they try to give that money to the smaller children. So I think this is a very nice way of celebrating the New Year.
In terms of the Nowruz order, so we have Nowruz Day, which is typically a day where that you would spend with your family, you would spend at home. For Iranians, what they principally do is they do something called Eid Didani, which is basically where you go visit all of your friends and family following the actual New Year's Day to basically celebrate the New Year with them or welcome each other into the New Year.
And from the day after that, they start going to different relatives' house, friends' house, and again this giving AD to the children is common when you go to the relatives' house.
چتر گل‌های بنفشه باغبان را شاد کرد نوبهار از ره رسید و باغ را آباد کرد لاله و سنبل کنار نسترن بنشسته‌اند رنگ و بوی یاس و سوسن در چمن بیداد کرد
یکی بود یکی نبود اون زمانهای قدیم زیر گنبد کبود میون جنگل سبز لای درختای قشنگ شهر باصفایی بود دور تا دورش گل سرخ.
There's the cockroach, Khale Suske, who decides she's going to go out and find her own husband. And every other character except the narrator, tries and fails. Ultimately, the mouse, Mush, goes and he wins Khale Suske's heart, and they run off together to get married. But the part you saw today was the bear and the fox, my character. I was the mullah, who tried to win Khale Suske.
Iranian professor before I had her as my teacher, and I went to her office hours to learn how to read and write because unlike a lot of heritage kids, I grew up speaking Farsi but never learned how to read and write, and so she told me there was a culture class to go to. I was lied to. This was not a culture class. This was a play class, like a theater class. So I walked in and I was like, oh, I know this play, and then they just kind of told me I was going to play Khale Suske, and I was like, okay, fine. I'll do that. So we have like a skirt piece that's just like very flowy, very elegant for women. And then we have just like a longer cover piece just to add a little more flair and flounce to it. And then one of the more recognized pieces is the rustari, which is a scarf. And it just kind of covers your hair a little bit. Khale Suske kind of wears it enough to just kind of be a tease. She's trying to find somebody to marry, but traditionally it's worn a little bit more tightly so the bottom of the hair doesn't show.
So Nowruz is the most important holiday, I think, in Iran and for Iranians. And so we really, this is something we wanted to put on. It's really important to the community and to us as not just Iranians, but also Iranian Americans and people interested in the culture.
I think it's really important for Iranian. Why? Because family, relatives, and being together in Iran was always and are always the most important things. Because we believe that human being was born to live in a society, to live with the other people. We believe that in happiness and in adversity, we need to be together to help each other. So this is one of the most important events which happen for us. So it's better to celebrate it together.
So it is very important because it's the part of our identity as a nation, and beyond that, because as I mentioned earlier, so we share the same background with Iranian and Tajikistan, the three countries that celebrate we start our new year, the beginning of the spring. So it is not only important to come together as a nation, but also it's very important to celebrate the past, because as you know, we are involved in a civil war for 3 decades in Afghanistan. So just for new generations and the generations that are coming after us, it's very important for us to show that we have a very deep and rich history, and these are the meaning behind each act that we do.
عید شما مبارک.
عید شما مبارک.
عید شما مبارک.
Hello, B-CC. My name is Misha Lerner. We need a political revolution. Millions of students across this great school are sick and tired of the establishment. And the top 1%, top 10% of top 1% of B-CC students have more memes than the bottom 99%. My average campaign contribution is 27 likes on my Facebook page. I also get several shares and hearts due to the new liking and review system. Some of my opponents get 300, 200 likes. But me, we have amassed millions of 30 like chunks. I don't get money from super PACs. I don't even have a backpack. I carry everything around in a plastic bag because my parents are too cheap to afford for me a backpack. That's why all my papers are not in order. And if you ask me for my homework, you're not gonna get it because I have to carry around a goddamn paper bag. Plastic bag.
What about your hands?
My hands are quite small for my body, but I would like to inform all of you that that is no indication of other bodily organs that might be on my surface. I have to say, I will go to a doctor and we will have this apparatus examined, and I will give you a full report. I must say, it's not the size of government, but how you use it, which makes the difference.